First, let's get started and meet our presenters. I want to introduce CEO of Valley Medical Staffing and Managing Partner of Vima Staffing Partners. We have Michael Conley. Thank you for joining us, Mike. How are you?
Doing fine. Thank you, Rox.
Good. Nancy Hyduk. She's our VP of Talent Acquisition for both Valley and Vima. Thanks for joining us, Nancy. We look forward to hearing about our opportunities today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And as usual, our attorney expert and the person who's going to tell us everything we need to know about how to get our visa as quickly and as possible, as I'm sure most of our watchers are hoping will happen. Michael Hammond with Corporate Immigration Partners. Good morning or good afternoon.
Glad to be here, Roxy. Thanks.
Good. All right, so let's see here. We'll quickly go over a little bit about our company and then we're just going to jump right in. I apologize for that quick delay in the beginning because of my power cord. And what we'll do is we'll hopefully leave enough time in the end for any Q&As. If there are any important questions that come up along the way, we'll do our best to answer those as we see fit. But in the meantime, just real briefly about our companies. Valley Medical Staffing was founded in 2003 with Vima Staffing Partners, our sister company, joining us in 2006. Mike has been at the helm of both these companies this entire time, working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of registered nurses like yourselves, get their green cards and get placed in U.S. hospitals and start their careers. So thank you, Mike. We hire from all over the globe. We work both with direct hire and temp to hire opportunities, meaning, of course, temp to hire as in staffing agency. Nancy will touch base on that a little bit briefly down the way here. We do work with hospitals in the acute care setting all over the country. We'll also talk about some of our opportunities right now. Today, we'll cover mostly the information about the EB-3 permanent residency green card, which is an employment-based visa, the most common that registered nurses acquire, although there are some other options that we'll also have Mike touch base on a little bit and let you know what the status of those opportunities are. We work with both international nurses who live abroad and are working in hospitals and other acute care settings and have experience. And we also work with those who are new graduates, say, attending school here in the US and getting their BSN, MSN, etc. We'll touch base on that. We're Gold Seal certified by the Joint Commission, which is, of course, a very important distinction that demonstrates our commitment to the highest standards in nurse practices, not only the nurses we employ, but also the hospitals we work with. And of course, we're an ethical healthcare recruiter, recognized by the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices, which is a division of CGFNS, or some of you might know them now as True Merit. Highly respected organization, and of course, ethical healthcare recruiting has always been important to us and will continue to be. So if you have questions about that, you're more than welcome to also ask. Going forward for the rest of the session, put your questions in the chat. We'll do our best to get to every question as we can. If it is a very case specific, say you are already an employee or working with Vima or Valley and you have a specific question, we may not be able to answer your particular individual case question, although we'll do our best. And if we don't, do go ahead and reach out to me or to our team. My email and information is on this slide right now. You can also always send us a message through our website. And if you are already an employee and have a visa petition filed, you can also send messages through the Corporate Immigration Partners portal, where your case information is held under the Envoy portal. Okay, today we're going to go and cover a few things about visa, which particular ones we cover. Qualifications, how to get started. Definitely going to get Mike Hammond to comment on the timeline for getting these visas. And then we'd like to hear a little bit from Mike and everyone about any updates policy-wise from the federal government or anything that's going on with immigration in that respect. and of course, our questions and answers. Okay, so I'm going to hand it off to Mike now. Mike, I really want to hear from you first and foremost, just a little bit about maybe a sentence or two about why you got into the business of helping registered nurses and how it's evolved over time. And then, of course, talk a little bit about the types of nurses that we help.
Okay. Um, the the reason I got into this business originally is because my daughter went to preschool with another little girl whose dad is a doctor, and we became friends. And he ran an emergency medical group that was always running into problems trying to admit patients because there was never any beds upstairs. Well, there's lots of beds. There just weren't any nurses. So we started talking about how best to help his clients, and we came up with this business, and we've been doing this for 23 plus years, helping nurses come to the United States and work in hospitals to make sure that the beds have nurses to next to them to take care of patients. Um, it's been a long 23 years, ups and downs of the economy and policy, all sorts of things. But one thing never changes, and that's the demographics of the United States. People are getting older, nurses are retiring, and there's not enough nurses being trained in the United States right now to fill all the open positions. And so hospitals have looked overseas to find well-educated, experienced nurses. And I can tell you that you go into just about any hospital in the United States, and there's going to be nurses from somewhere else in the world taking care of patients here. Um, I think a lot of people in the United States will tell you that working with an international nurse is quite fulfilling because of the commitment to care and the empathy shown by international nurses. And so we're really proud to be part of that tradition and to help people get here. So that's why I'm here and how I got here. Um, we work with both registered nurses from overseas who've been educated in another country and may have experience in another country. But we also work with international students who've come to the United States and gone to school here and are looking for both a position where they can, train into their careers and be trained in their careers, but also have an opportunity to get a permanent residence card. And so we have several clients that we're able to do that with. Um, Not all of them, but we're trying to let them know that it's a great way to have a little continuity because, as you guys know, it takes a long time to get through the immigration process. So we've been telling our clients that an international student who needs to be trained is a great way to go because you're going to be there for a few years and they're going to get a return on that investment. And for you, the nurse, it gives you an opportunity to grow in that institution, take advantage of their career ladder, and build a really substantial and effective career here in the United States. So right now we're doing EB-3s. That's what Roxy mentioned earlier, and that's the traditional green card process. If you're overseas and we do it, we meet you, we go through the interview process, and we'll file your case, and then we wait, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. But that's just the nature of the beast. We had a little reprieve during the pandemic, if you want to call it that, when we had people whose cases were able to be processed pretty quickly. A lot of nurses were able to get in at that point in time, but it's slowed down again back to, I think Mike Hammond will confirm that it's actually kind of normal. We're at the normal processing time that it has been traditionally over the last 20, 30 years. But you need to take advantage of that time. And what I mean by that is you have 3 years. It's a gift of time to prepare yourself to come to the United States with your families and be successful. We'll sponsor somebody and they'll send me an email at some point and they'll say, Mr. Conley, is it possible for me to go work in Dubai while I'm waiting to come to the United States? And my answer to that is absolutely. You should absolutely take advantage of any opportunity you have to get experience. And experience in the Western style medicine and in high-end medical centers with all the best equipment in the world and the training, and if it's in English, even better. You just have a lot of opportunities out there in the world. I'd say take advantage of them. Take advantage of that time it's going to take for you to get here to prepare yourself for your success. So some of the other visas we work with, the TN visa is for nurses from Mexico and Canada. The nice thing about that visa is it's very fast. Mike's team can put together a letter and we can get you a job offer, one of our clients, fairly quickly. And then you come in, and it's a multi-year non-immigrant visa, but it is renewable. And, at some point in the future, if you decide that you want to go, further on the immigration process, we'll be there to support you, most definitely. Same with the E3. The E3 is a visa special to Australia. Again, we've had success with it. I'm not going to tell you it's 100% foolproof, but we have had success bringing some nurses out of Australia into our clients here in the United States. We also do, some of the oddball stuff. Stuff just falls out of the trees sometimes. But the key is if you have questions about how we can help you, you got to reach out to us directly, and Roxy or Nancy will get you started on answering any questions you have if you think that you're in a really unique situation. The last thing that I always want to talk about is the H-1B. Everybody loves H-1B because, oh, it's easy. Well, it's not. It's not easy for a couple different reasons. Number one is because the nursing practice in the United States is not a baccalaureate position, meaning you can become a nurse with an associate's degree. You don't need a bachelor's degree. So what that tells the USCIS is, oh, this isn't eligible for the H-1B. And so you have to find a client that meets very, very, very particular circumstances in order for the H-1B to work. Now, those circumstances are usually, in order to be cap exempt, meaning you don't have to go into the lottery, so they have to be associated with a educational institution in some way, shape, or form. They have to be nonprofit, and they have to have a baccalaureate positions available for you. Most hospitals do not have job descriptions that support a baccalaureate nurse. And the reason is because so many nurses in the United States have their associate's degree. Hospitals are not willing to cut them out and leave them out of the availability to go in a position. Now, that doesn't mean it can't happen. It does. And we talk to our clients about trying to structure their programs to make it available, but currently there's just not a lot of opportunity for H-1Bs in the United States. And I think maybe Mr. Hammond will talk about it later. There is discussion about some other changes to the H-1B program overall with the new administration that might make it even harder. So Roxy did mention we do both direct hire and temp to hire hiring. That's the staffing model where you are employed during the duration of the assignment. Direct hire is tough right now because it's taking so long to get here. A lot of hospitals just can't look that far in the future and commit what it takes to sign people up today, with an expectation they'll be here in 3+ years. It's a big ask for a hospital system. Most hospitals are looking quarter to quarter, not year to year, much less 3 or 4 years out. That being said, we have had some success with our direct hire program for new grads. So that could be a possibility. And, we have every once in a while we'll put a posting up on Facebook or someplace else with a specific opportunity that might come up for you. But we also have some facilities that are hiring new grads through our staffing program. We have one right now in Los Angeles that's getting ready for a residency program. So if you have any interest in that avenue, please reach out to Nancy and she'll get you set up and we're submitting candidates right now. So with regards to our program, if you work for us, we have a full benefits program with medical, dental. We have a life insurance and vision component to it. We have a 401k program with a match, meaning that if you put money into your retirement program, the company will match some of that money. Great way to start saving now for the future. We take care of all the immigration expenses. We'll fly you here. We have temporary housing when you get here. We pay for all the things that you need to do to get through the credentialing process to get on to work, and then we'll relocate you to the area where the hospital you're going to be working at is, and help you get settled in there as well. I think one of the things that we've been lauded for in the past is our hands-on approach to helping people when they get here, get settled in and feel like they're just not being dumped somewhere. That's our goal, is not to dump you anywhere. We want to take care of you. We want you to be successful. If you're not successful, we're not successful. And the only way that we can help you be successful is by making sure that your needs are being met. On the direct hire side, you would be working directly for the hospital. Our job would be to get you here, get you to the facility, and started working there. If you're doing an adjustment of status from an F1 on a direct hire with our company, we'll also be assisting you through time on keeping your status current and your work eligibility current through curriculum practical training programs that we are partnering with. So our goal is to be there for you, whether you're direct hire or staffing, in order to make you successful and complete your assignment. And if you like where you're working, I'm sure every hospital we put people at, they want you guys to stay there forever. So they roll out the red carpet. Other than that, I think I've talked a lot, and I want to stop so that other people can talk.
Thanks, Mike. You've actually covered a lot, yes, and very important pieces, especially things like I want to reiterate, working with us as a staff agency where we are your employer and sponsor your visa, and the direct hire options where you become an employee of the hospital and we are the conduit for that visa sponsorship. We still, of course, provide all the very similar services in terms of helping you get here. And like Mike said, we're not just going to dump you somewhere. We're going to make sure you're taken care of, and relocation is covered. And we're a small company, so we're able to provide individual attention and consistent attention to your case and your needs. So again, if you have more questions, throw them in the chat. In the meantime, yes, we're going to move on to Nancy. Let's see if I can get that. Yep, we did it. All right. So, Nancy, we want to hear from you about ideal candidates as it relates separately from a consular processed or experienced nurse living outside the country, and an F1 new graduate or new nurse that's living inside the country or onshore and maybe seeking an adjustment of status. So definitely let us know a little bit about the differences and what you're looking for. If you don't mind also touching base on things like when NCLEX should become a part of the conversation. I personally get a lot of questions about whether or not talking to us as an organization should happen after NCLEX or before NCLEX, and so on and so forth. So could you talk us through a little bit about both those qualifications?
Thanks, Rox. I sure will. The first question is, who is a qualified candidate? If you are a consular um, in another country and working as a nurse, we need you to have A, passed your NCLEX, and B, 2 years of acute care experience. And by acute care experience, we mean at the bedside, actually taking care of patients. If you are working in some sort of unit that is med surge, even if it's specialty med surge, like cardiology, oncology, orthopedics, whatever. Many of the nurses in the US are now requiring their med surge candidates to have telemetry experience. When you interview with a nurse manager, you can expect to be asked things about telemetry. They'll also ask you what type of drips you're accustomed to hanging, just to get a feel for what kind of patients you've taken care of. So OR, ER, and ICU are particularly needed in the US. And if you are applying for one of those positions, in your resume and in your conversation with me, I need to know if you are in a mixed unit, a specialty ICU, things like that, as information that we can get the most idea of what you've been used to doing in your country. As Mike said, if you have the opportunity during the time that you're waiting for your visa to work internationally, that is a huge advantage. There's one nurse manager that I work with, that is her first question is, have they worked in more than one country? Just to make sure, if you go to the Middle East, if you go to the UK, many of their processes are very similar to what they are in the US, and it's an easier transition for you. They also they're more likely for a med surg unit to provide you with telemetry patients. And again, that's a huge benefit to you. New grads, if you're about to graduate from nursing school, whether it be in August or December, we want you to contact us. And all you have to do is go to one of our websites that are plastered all over these slides. Go to one of the websites, submit your resume. There's a very short questionnaire for you to complete. That goes to one of the three of us in the recruiting department. We will contact you if you meet the requirements. We will contact you and set up an initial interview with you. Requirements for new grads. In order to start with us, you have to have taken and passed your NCLEX. But to talk to us, you don't even have to have scheduled your NCLEX. We want to get in on your planning.
While they're in school often, right?
Absolutely. We have people contact us a year in advance just so that they can go with our recommendations as far, what state should I take my NCLEX for? What makes it easier? And we tell you what states we have positions in, and that does make it easier for you with your NCLEX. We want the school you go to can become important in that many of them offer capstones in critical care and emergency medicine, in oncology, whatever. And if your capstone is what you want to end up in as a new grad, that's particularly important to mention that in your resume. That will kind of set you apart for some of the other new grads who only list all of their clinical expertise. We will walk you through, this is kind of confusing for new grads. We will walk you through your OPT and your work authorization and everything that you need to be able to qualify to interview with our partners. We do have a hospital, a great hospital in Los Angeles that wants our new grads.
This is an
And
opportunity right now that's available.
absolutely. They'll do a cohort twice yearly. So those of you who are not graduating until August or December, you're not going to miss out on anything. They will do it again and we'll get you prepared. That's why it's important for you to contact us now so we can get you, moving in the right direction, and we will follow you throughout the whole process. Even if you're not going to graduate until December, we'll help you plan when to take your NCLEX. Everything that you need to do to get on the path to start with the cohort that they're doing probably in February, I would think. So the earlier you contact us, the better you'll feel about your nursing career beginning. The cohort in Los Angeles have a number of specialty areas that they're willing to train new grads for. That is somewhat unusual. Sometimes you go into a big group of new grads who are trained in various med-surg units. Med-surg is very important as a solid foundation for your nursing career. But if you wanted to, end up in the emergency department, and we have a partner that will train you specifically for that emergency department, then we need to know that early. We can get you submitted so that you get an interview quickly. And the
So
interview,
Nancy,
yes,
Nancy,
Rob.
there is, sorry to interrupt you, just to
All right.
to add on to that statement, the question that's in the chat, are ICU ED positions available for new grad RNs? For those listening, you're saying that this particular hospital opportunity may have opportunities for those types of units?
That is correct.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. And it is unusual. They have, and I think it sort of depends on who conducts the program. This hospital has a robust nursing education department, and they're the ones that conduct this, which is why they present a number of courses throughout the residency, critical care courses, courses that cover every other topic in nursing, and they do that periodically throughout the residency program. If you hire on with a hospital that offers new grad positions, but not specifically a new grad program, you may get some classes, but most of your education will be done actually on the unit. And that's not likely a specialty unit because they don't have the bandwidth to train you to be in a specialty unit. This one has their residency, their new grad program is very well established. They don't have any problem recruiting for it, but they know the quality of our new grads. And that's why they have made this opportunity available for our folks. I think we've already submitted 4 people to it. We can submit many more if you're a May 25 graduate and you've taken and passed your NCLEX. Please go online, upload your resume, and talk to us so that we can get you in line to be submitted for this.
And tell your friends.
Every
Yes,
friend that
yeah.
you have.
So to recap, for that particular opportunity, for those who are listening and are F1 students here in the U.S., the opportunity is in Southern California, in Los Angeles. In fact, Los Angeles is a really great place to live for being a nurse and an international someone from out of the country. It's super diverse. There's so much going on in that area. This opportunity allows for the possibility of moving into specialty units. And I just want to reiterate that for those who graduated in May and have taken NCLEX, it's best to get moving on this opportunity as soon as possible, especially while you have your OPT getting started and in process. But for those who have not taken NCLEX or maybe have not graduated yet, the time is still now to start talking to us. So we get you on track to be presented to the hospital for the next cohort. And this way you can plan ahead for when you're going to take your NCLEX, when you're going to ask for your OPT or get your OPT approved, the dates to start, We're going to walk you through all that. In addition, for those who know, all of you who are F1 will likely have to end up in CPT to continue your visa status such that you can continue working full time. And our team will walk you through all those details and help you with that. Nancy, was there any other last things about anyone who's interested in working with us, either as a consular or a new grad? Any common questions that come up most often that you want to touch base on before we move on to immigration stuff?
The temp to perm, the offshore candidates, their question usually is, where will I be placed? And I can go over with them where the partners that we have are now. But again, you're looking at, 2 to 3 years before they actually are ready to arrive. And we may have all different partners by that time. Their hesitation is not knowing today where they will be. We are very careful to ask if you have friends or family in the United States. And if they do, and we have a partner that is near there, we will do our best to get them at that facility or in that town. It depends on what positions are vacant, whether or not they have the skill set to meet those requirements for that position, but we do our best to get them in the location they want to go. We have a number of partners we have a number in California. We currently have a number in New Mexico, which is very exciting for us. And New Mexico for the consular offshore nurses is very exciting as well. It's very diverse and it has seasons. It's warm, but they also have some of the U.S. best skiing in the winter. They have
Beautiful state.
Yes, they have scouted out all kinds of great living arrangements for our nurses. They have a number of international nurses already, and I think that makes us kind of special. Everywhere we place our international nurses, there is a community of international nurses who will take you by the hand and help you as far as safe places to live, good school districts if you have children and have to be concerned about that. We have several at one facility who have taken apartments close enough so they can walk to and from work together. They become a community at each of our partners. So we're very excited to be able to start this, the group in LA as well as the new group in New Mexico. I think that will become one of our favorite locations in New Mexico.
And it has a great cost of living.
Amen.
Yeah.
Compared
Absolutely.
to California.
Absolutely.
New Mexico does, yes. Well, folks, if you have questions like what Nancy just covered, things like you're worried about, like how do I know what the community will be like, or what resources do you have to help me acclimate to the area? Get to have a conversation with us. We want to share all that information with you so you can feel absolutely comfortable about working with us. Thanks, Nancy.
Welcome, Rox.
All right, let's get moving to, if I can, there we go. All right, it's Mike Hammond's turn. Folks, we have some questions coming in about I-140s and OPTs and CPTs, et cetera. We will be getting to those questions, but in the meantime, what we want now is an update from Mike Hammond. He's the lead attorney for our team. He's worked with us for decades at this point, I believe, with corporate immigration partners. He is our partner attorney, and the person that would be him and his team filing your petition if you were to become an employee of ours or accept a direct hire opportunity. He would be your attorney for that petition with us as your liaison. So Mike, let's talk about timeline. Since the EB-3 is the most common type of visa that these registered nurses typically acquire, let's spend the most time on that. Of course, do touch base a little bit on the TN and E3s. Mike Conley mentioned earlier that it's a much faster process, but EB-3, I get a lot of, can can I do an adjustment of status if I change to an F1 from a consular process and so on and so forth? Can you unravel the two for us and explain the process that it will take to get from filing to green card?
Sure. So, first of all, thanks, Roxy, and appreciate you letting people know I've been doing this for decades. Thank you. The EB-3 consular processing versus AOS. AOS just simply stands for adjustment of status. It is simply a function of geography. If you are here in the US on a, say, student visa or an E3 or a TN, you are likely going to go through adjustment of status because you're physically here in the US. You may become ineligible for adjustment of status if you're here in the US. For example, the most common thing we see is someone who's a student who worked without permission while they were a student, that they are going to have to, even though they're in the US today, they're going to have to go to consular process instead of adjustment of status. But generally, we don't think of the timeline as being relevant as to which one I'm choosing. You're usually choosing based upon where you're at. So if you're already consular processing and you're living in the Philippines or you're working in Abu Dhabi, you're not going to say, well, I'd like to adjust status because you're not here. Generally speaking, on the timeline, though, consular processings from beginning to end are actually usually faster than adjustment of status, particularly because adjustment of status here in the US is going to a process that is requiring personal interviews. And so we certainly expect adjustment to take longer than consular processing. Why do I-140 approvals take so long? Yeah, it's a great question because right now I just double checked with my team today and we are seeing between 16 and 18 months.
Oh, it moved a little. That's a bummer.
I-140 right now. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. The I-140 is the first filing you make if you're an RN to get a green card. When your case is filed, the day it's filed, you get what's called a priority date. The priority date is your date in the queue. And earlier in the call, Mike talked about the fact that the line right now, or the queue, is about 3.5 years. You get in that line the day your case is filed. If you're overseas, you cannot come to the US until you get to the front of the line, go through an interview at the consulate, and then come in. If you're in the US, process a little differently, but same kind of concept. So to some degree, the USCIS says it doesn't matter how long it takes us to process this I-140 because you can't move on to the next step anyway because you're in a line that's at the bare minimum of 2.5 years long. So they say that they have strategically, in best use of resources, applied resources to those kinds of cases where you could move to the next stage, where with EB-3 cases you can't. So on one hand, it's frustrating to all of us that the processing has taken 16 to 18 months, particularly when only a year ago it was taken 10 months. But you are not harmed. You don't lose your spot in the line. You're still moving forward in the queue. In my opinion, there remains absolutely no reason whatsoever to premium process your I-140 because it does not make you go forward in the queue any faster. You are still in the same spot. So right now, the fact that it's taken a long time is frustrating, but not really, will not affect the length of time it takes you to get a green card. Quick on TNs and E3s. If you are eligible for a TN, you are a citizen of Canada or Mexico, we're going to want to do a TN first because it gets you here faster. You can start working. If you're Canadian, today's Thursday, and you already have the qualifications, you've got an NCLEX pass, you have the visa screen in hand, you've either applied for the state you're going to work in or you're eligible for endorsement or something into that state, then reasonably, honestly, you could be here on Monday and work on Monday. If you're a citizen of Mexico, it's going to take a little bit longer, but not that much longer. You could be here in 30 days. So if you're eligible for a TN, that's the route we want to go. And then you can convert to an EB-3 case after you get here and start working. If you're eligible for an E3, Again, not everyone's eligible for E3s. You have to be a national of Australia. Um, then the processing times are still under 45 days. So still pretty fast. Okay.
Okay, so Mike, just real fast, a recap there. TN is for Canada and Mexico
Yep.
citizens. So those out there who are interested, you must have that. And occasionally there are those who have dual citizenship that want to use it that way.
That's okay.
Us
As they have
E3 is
one.
Australian. And
Yep.
the requirements are also such that you need, of course, a USRN with the opportunity. Well, we'll help you through to get endorsed to the state to which you would be accepting a job offer, and you do need a visa screen. So there are steps that you're going to have to take to get it, but once you have all those pieces together, it's a very quick process, and then we would help relocate you. For EB-3s, consular and AOS, right now timeline is probably, or again, it's dependent on where you are, but we're talking what, like
Yeah, I mean, I think it
2-3
depends
years?
upon when we discuss the visa bulletin, where you're at in the process. So if I were talking to someone today who's a new grad, so an F1, and they're going to go through the adjustment of status process, I do not think they will have their green card in their hand for at least 3.5 years. If you are overseas, I'm much more optimistic. I think you're in the 2.5 to 3 year mark for overseas.
Okay, we're gonna go to visa screen. And just before we do though, I wanted to make one quick note, which is if someone had a previous priority date and it had been approved, we do work with cases where if if we are able, we can try to recapture your priority date, which means you recapture that original date of place in line. So, Mike, did you want to mention anything about how that process works?
Sure. I mean, the rules are fairly simple. You have to have a prior I-140 approved. It has to have been approved for more than 6 months after approval or not withdrawn for you to kind of own the rights to that priority date. If you have a copy of the I-140, that is the approval notice, that is the best. If you don't, but you have other proof, like say documentation from the NVC or consulate or something like that, then we can use that. Or there's something called a Freedom of Information Act request where we can try to get documents from your immigration file. But that allows you to keep your spot in line. So once you have an I-140 approved, your employer no longer controls that priority date. You do, which means you file a new I-140 and you get the old priority date established on the new I-140. So there's obviously a huge advantage. If you're someone who had an old priority date, you are extremely marketable. So jump on that. Okay, Visa Bulletin. So a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, there's 2 charts. So we've got something called the final action date chart and then the date for filing chart. And we'll talk about what these mean here in a second. But the Visa Bulletin is something that comes out monthly from the Department of State. Usually comes out the middle of the month before. The Department of State, we work on what's called a fiscal year. Starts October 1st and runs through September 30th. The U.S. system works on what's called a use it or lose it. So if there's 140,000 green cards given out each year authorized, and at the end of September, they've only approved 120,000, then that means we get 20,000 that's lost. They do not carry over to the next year. So as a result of that rule, in order to be more efficient, the USCIS and the Department of State try to front load the approvals. So during the first 3 quarters of the fiscal year, they try to get as many approvals done as they can, which creates a phenomena for us in the summer that we all refer to as summer retrogression, which means that in the bulletins of July, August, and September, we often see little to no forward movement, and sometimes things even back up again, or as it was predicted in the August bulletin, we can in September expect to see a U in these categories, U standing for unavailable. That is not something that should be cause for alarm. It may look bad because all of a sudden you're like, we're looking at the final action date right now, and the Philippines date is February 8, 2023. And if you're March 1st, you're excited because you're getting really close. And then in September, if it bounces back to January, you're thinking, I went backwards in the line. In reality, you didn't. All that happened is they gave them all out. And so even though it may look bad, if we're looking at this overall holistically, it's a good thing for them to run out in September. That means they used them all up. Now, a couple things about the chart that Roxy put up for those of you who are new to this program. Nurses all go under what's called the third category. So look on the left-hand side. EB-3 simply stands for employment-based 3. That's where this comes from. If the categories that you're in, the country you're what they call charged to, is based upon your country of birth, not your country of citizenship. So if you were born in India and you moved to Canada and you became a Canadian citizen, you are going to be eligible for a TN visa, but you're still going to be in the Indian charge line, which means you're still waiting like 160 years for a green card to be issued. If you have a spouse and your spouse was born in a different country than you, and that spouse has a faster line, you can be in the spouse line. So you can be, they let you do whatever is faster. So you're born in the Philippines, you move to the UK and you're working for 3 years and you marry some British bloke, then you get to be in the all other line and you're a couple months ahead. So for those who are single, add that to a list of criteria. You want someone who's got a full head of hair and someone who's in a higher, a line that's shorter than what you're in, okay? The second chart, let's flip to the second chart.
Okay.
The second chart is, that's up here, is called the date for filing chart. If you are overseas, you don't care about this chart. You care about the final action date chart. That's all you care about. If you're in the US, you care about this chart. And the reason why is the date for filing chart allows you to file your I-45. Now I'm putting an asterisk up right there, and I'm going to come back to the asterisk just in a second. But think of it as, I'm here as an F1, I'm a student, I'm on my OPT or I'm on my TN, and I'm going through the process. I'm looking at this date each month. Notice it's ahead of the final action date chart, and that's when I get to file my 485. Now, the asterisks I mentioned. The Department of State is who releases these bulletins. The USCIS is a different agency. They ultimately get to decide who can actually file a 485. So the Department of State releases this bulletin and says you're eligible. The USCIS, usually then within 2 or 3 days after, post a notice saying which chart they will actually honor for this month. So we're sitting here in July right now. They are not honoring the date for filing chart. They're honoring only the final action date chart. So there's 2 little points we have to look at. But generally speaking, consider the date for filing chart as when you get to file your 485 and your work card application and a travel document. One other thing that's really important about the date for filing chart is the date for filing chart is usually set in October when the new bulletin comes out. And it is usually a predictor that during the course of the fiscal year, the final action dates will move up to meet the date for filing chart. So they try to project based on how many people are in the queue. So last year in October, they set the date as May 1st, 2023, which told all of us last October that during the course of this coming year, they're likely going to get up to that date or get real close to it, or maybe they go a month past it, but that's going to be kind of our target. Well, as you notice this year in the August bulletin, if we went back, we don't have to, but if we went back to the final action, they made it to April 1st. That's as far as they've gotten, which means they didn't quite get to where they predicted that we would this year, but they got close. Now, the next thing about Visa Bulletin everybody always wants to know is October's coming up soon. What do I think is going to happen? And for people who ask me more than 3 times, I just randomly make up a date. And I say something like January 12th,
You don't get your
2000,
genie
whatever.
bottle out, rub
I
your
just-
genie bottle.
Just totally make it up.
Yeah.
I don't even drink before I make it up. I just randomly pick a date because the reality is that nobody has a clue. Anyone who says they have a clue is lying. We don't know. We don't know whether they're going to be conservative and have to move the date faster as they go, or whether they're going to be a little more like, hey, we've got quite a few more people, so we're going to move the date forward faster. What I do believe is we're going to have forward movement in October. Okay. We always have. I expect it will happen again, whether it moves forward 6 months and we get from May 1st, 2023 till November 1st, 2023. I'd like to see that. If I were betting on it, and I don't bet much, but I might be willing to bet like a dime or a quarter, then I might pick a date like October, November. Some people are a little more optimistic than me, but that's what we would think. And then as far as the final action date chart, we're going to see slower movement in October. We're not going to have a jump, but we may have a month, we may have 2 months kind of time frame. So that's my prediction for the Visa Bulletin. And again, the September Bulletin coming out in about, 4 weeks now, is going to be not September Bulletin, I'm sorry, the October Bulletin. So we got about 6 weeks before the October Bulletin's coming out. That's going to be the big key one. That's the one, I will be sitting at my computer pushing refresh until that bulletin comes out starting on September 13th or 14th. And I'm on an email string with a bunch of other attorneys who'll be doing the same. As soon as one of us gets it, we all get either excited or we cry. It could go either way. And you're probably going to be doing the same thing. And so just join in with us and it'll be fun. Okay, if we can flip to the next screen. So a couple other quick things. Travel bans. If you're from a travel ban country right now, I don't mean to be cynical or flip about this, but there's only 3 years, 7 months, 21 days, and 9 hours left until his presidency's over. And then the ban may go away. There is an exception to the ban that they decided I don't know if you saw the news this week, that the Venezuelan Little League team that was supposed to play in the Little League World Series in Pennsylvania did not meet the exception. They felt that they were still potentially a risk. So we're very concerned about those 10 and 11-year-olds there that were here to play baseball. The exceptions are very broad right now. There's not a procedure for them. I actually have a med tech who is from Iran, and we are going to be filing something in the next week that we have no clue what we're doing. It's the first one we've tried. There's not a form. There's not a place to send it to. It's supposed to simply go to the Department of State. And so I guess Marco Rubio himself's looking at them. I don't know. That's who we're sending this one to. And we'll certainly report back if we get any results. This person's simply a typical normal med tech, nothing special. We're just going to say, hey, we're a hospital. We really need med techs, and we hired this person, and please let her come in. And we're going to see what happens. It's going to be longer than that because I'm an attorney, and we like to bill by the word and the letter. And so it'll be longer, but that's what we're doing. We're just begging. TPS and asylum ending. What can you do? TPS ending, obviously there's a lot of court cases out there. I'm telling a lot of people that TPS is ending. If you do not have a good asylum case, that you are going to be faced with the issue of finishing your case overseas. That does not mean that you're not getting a green card. Your I-140 continues on. You're still in the priority date line. We're just going to have to get you, we're going to finish your case somewhere else, which means if I'm you and you're sitting here and you're one of the countries where your TPS is ending in January and you've talked to an asylum attorney and they've told you that you don't have an asylum case, I'd be looking for overseas assignments. I'd be looking for where else can I go work? Because I'm going to get kicked out of here. So can I work in Australia? Can I work in Canada? Can I work in Dubai? Where can I work? who wants to value my talent and skills? That does not end your current I-140 process. It just changes how we do it. So I would reach out to whoever you're working with there at Visa Valley to talk to them if that's your circumstance. If you're on asylum, there's talk about asylum ending, but it's a statutory thing. It's also something that is built into multiple treaties. So it's not going to end easily like TPS is. So I think there's a little bit of room there. Legislation potentials. I think the odds of any positive legislation happening under this administration is 1, maybe 0 on a scale of 1 to 12 billion. But, you know, it'll continue to be tried. There's a lot of actors that would be in favor of it. So we'll see. I think what we're more likely to have is some broad relief. And if there is some broad relief, there was a Dignity Act introduced bipartisan 2 or 3 weeks ago that potentially could get added, but we'll see. Okay, we got to run quick because I'm
in the interest of time, guys. I think we're gonna move to some Q&As. There's a few to cover, so let's head straight over there.
Okay.
We have some questions about CP. This is an important one, I think, for new grads, because the question of their OPT running out after that first year or only year of OPT work authorization, the key is staying in visa status while you stay in the country to see out your adjustment of status. And this person is asking, Nikki, if I am still waiting to get my I-140 approval and do not wish to work CPT, can I go outside of the US to work overseas till my priority date becomes current? Or do I need to get my I-140 approved before leaving the US? How does that work in that example?
Well, I can answer hypothetically for you, and you guys would have to decide from a company perspective how this works for you. But most hospitals and most employers will leave your I-140 pending. And whether it's already pending or whether it's approved doesn't really matter. But it is a situation where you're going to go and do consular processing. So now you convert to, say, an offshore candidate. So if you were planning on working at ABC facility and now you stop working there, your OPT is ending, and you're not going to come back for 2 years, ABC facility may or may not still have a position for you.
That's right.
Okay. So you'd be, once you get closer to your priority date being current, you would connect back out with your, account manager person, whoever you've been working with, and see. And if ABC facility is still working for you, great, but maybe there's another facility. It's one of the advantages of working with a company like Visa Valley, who has the options to do some staffing models and has clients in a lot of different places. So your case, in theory, could go on, but it may not go on exactly as you expect, because hospitals don't keep jobs open forever.
Mike?
And I'll add,
yeah,
I'll add on to that. If we're working with a hospital providing new grads on a direct hire model where they're going to be your employer, one of the requirements of taking that position is to enter a day one CPT program. The hospital is not going through the process of sponsoring you and providing you the employment so that you can leave and finish processing your case overseas. They're not going to be interested in doing that. So that is a requirement for direct hire new grads, is to go into a CPT program. And we're going to help you do that. That's what we do. We've got partnerships in universities that can keep you in status and keep your work eligibility up. Now, if we've hired you on the staffing model, of course we'd want you to do the same thing, but there's nothing that requires you to continue working for us. I will say it's bad form to abandon a job that you have when we've been telling you that there's a way to stay in status and continue working for us. But it's going to be your decision ultimately. In the past, we've had nurses who stepped aside from a job when there was like a 3-month gap between their OPT ending and them getting a work permit. But those days are those days are gone. Your OPT is going to expire and you're still going to have years to go before you're going to be eligible to get that new work permit. So our position, like Mike said, is it's in the business position would be you really should go into a CPT-1 program. You'll be earning an advanced degree that will help you in the long run with your career. You'll be making more money, when you're working with a master's degree. So that's that.
Right. So the bottom line here, thank you guys, is that there's no getting out of how long the process is taking, especially adjustment of status for F1 students. So you will need to plan accordingly for that, especially if you choose to take on a position with us, direct or staff agency. Well, we will walk you through it. And some of our opportunities, either the direct hire hospital may have a tuition assistance program that you can take advantage of. And we also offer some loan assistance that is optional for you to take advantage of. So we'll help you through every step of the way that we can to make it as, of course, achievable as possible. But that is, part of the process at this time, especially because it's taking so long. Now, I have another question related to the OPT and CPT rather. It's kind of an interesting one. This person is saying the USCIS director is not a fan of OPT, but more importantly, they're specifically concerned about day one CPT and whether or not those programs may become an issue at the adjustment of status, meaning that do you foresee, Mike Hammond, any sort of issue with OPT and CPT work authorization for students, F1 students who are using that as work authorization?
Yeah, well, OPT and CPT programs have been around for 25 years plus.
Okay.
They are statutory. They're embedded in the regulations. If they wanted them to be changed, they would need to pass some legislation to change them, or they would need to write new regulations to change them. They simply can't change them by simply, saying, well, I don't like these programs. Is it possible they will attempt to do any of those things? Sure. Frankly, anything's possible with this administration. There are voices within this administration who would like no one to come into the U.S. and have 100% closed borders, visitors, tourists, everybody. So, yeah, but as of right now, we can only work on what the rules are today. We can certainly plan for and watch for and advocate on behalf. I know Beeman Valley are both members of multiple lobbying organizations who advocate in Washington on behalf of international workers and trying to protect your rights. And there are many other organizations who do as well. Keep in mind that universities are very active in trying to make sure that options for their students are particularly helpful. CPT is not a program just for internationals. The concept of CPT has been around with graduate school programs probably as long as graduate schools exist. Because the idea in most graduate school programs is you are doing something practically while you are in school, whether you could call it student teaching or you're in a research lab or whatever, that residency for physicians, whatever you're going to talk about. There has always been an element in higher education that is outside of the classroom and inside of a workplace. And so there's a lot of reasons for continuing to have these programs. So I'm not particularly worried about them right now.
And in your decades of storied experience, you've not seen those things change, right, Mike?
No, I mean, they are often
OPT.
they're challenged and,
Yes.
And say, hey, we don't think this is a legal program. And then frankly, the schools tend to get very involved in responding and providing documentation saying that our program meets all the requirements. This student met all the requirements, whether that's a residency once a month or whatever it is, or maintaining full-time, paying tuition, all the criteria. Schools are very vested in that and have been tremendous advocates in getting things resolved. I've never seen a denial for that, as long as the program's a good program.
Okay, thank you. Well, we've gone over a little bit for our full hour, so I'm going to go ahead and let us wrap up. Just a few more notes, though, with respect to any of the other questions. The last question I will ask, and then we'll close out, was whether or not the trade agreements between Canada and Mexico would affect the TN visa process. Mike, do you have any insight there?
As of right now, there's been no negotiation or point of issue relative to either the occupations or the reciprocal work programs. Everything has been centering around tariffs and rates of tariffs. So
Okay.
since that's not even been a topic, I seriously doubt that it will come up.
That's good. Okay, great. For those who have questions that we didn't read directly from, some of the answer we answered during the session, things about length of time and so on and so forth for your process or how long your I-140s will take. If you feel like you haven't gotten your question answered, you're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to, provide information, and certainly would love to talk to you. Before we do let go, I want to say, if you're interested in talking to us further, send a resume in. Well, all that will do is trigger a message from people like Nancy and her recruiting team, and they'll talk to you about your experience. Or if there's a lack of your experience, they'll give you a piece of information on how to present yourself in the future as a qualified candidate. There's a lot of resources on our website to take a look at too. We're here for you. Join us on social media, etc. On the screen, you'll have our general email and websites. I want to close out by just offering each of you an opportunity to say one last thing. Nancy, did you want to offer you're on mute, any last words before we let you go today?
No, I think I talked enough.
Well, Nancy's ready to talk to you folks otherwise. So thanks, Nance, for
Yeah,
being on the
anybody
call.
if you have any question at all you have to do is upload that resume and we will set an appointment to talk with you. We have a lot of unusual situations that we can help you walk through, and we would love to do that.
Great. Thank you. Mike's, I open the floor. Mike Hammond, any
Yeah, I
last
would
words?
just say to not be so worried about the news you hear on a day-to-day basis. Focus on long-term. Don't worry about the Visa Bulletin, what it says today. Again, the timeframes are normal if we look over a 20-25-year period of time.
That's good. I like that. And Mike Conley, what say you?
I would agree with that. I would also say that this current administration, a lot of their immigration language is for fear. They want you to be afraid. They want you to self-deport. They don't want you to be comfortable. But the truth is that immigration, employment-based immigration, especially to the United States, is necessary, and everybody knows it, and everybody supports it, even except for like the real hardos. But if we just keep sallying forth, do our thing, be patient, file cases, put in documents that are required, this too shall pass, and it is a game of patience. And so have patience and take the advantage of the time that you have to improve yourself so that you can be successful when you arrive. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike Hammond, and thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and post this on YouTube within the next 24 hours. You'll see it there, and certainly we'll also make note of it on our social media sites. Feel free to reach out at any time, and thank you for joining us. Thank you. Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
Roxy.
Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
great
Okay.
day.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Partners and Valley Medical Staffing. Today we're going to be talking with our awesome presenters. I'm going to go ahead and share our screen. And why will it not? There we go. Here we are. Please let me know when you can see my.
Yeah.
We can see.
Awesome. Okay. All righty. So let's get to the front of it. Technical issues today. All right, here we are.